What up, though, and welcome back. It's your boy Joe. Welcome to the page. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. And we're gonna get into this next video, man. We're gonna check out Pearly. Let's go.
Should we mark this bad boy at all?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say, we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
Yeah, feminism is one of those complicated subjects where I feel like, it's really two different forms of American feminism. One is more of, protecting people's rights, not just for women, but for children, for marginalized people, regardless of race, poor people, feminism, that kind of feminism that looks out for the community as a whole, I'm cool with. It's just that that misandrous, anti-male form of feminism that's tied to capitalism and, strange, unorthodox ways where you got, upper middle class, wealthy white women really, fighting to oppress men who have historically oppressed them. I think some of that's starting to bleed out into other forms of feminism, but yeah, that's how I feel about the subject.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movement. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their...
Wow, so So I don't know if y'all peeped it, but old girl just pulled like this old white woman Jedi mind trick. What I mean by that is clearly this discussion is about American feminism. They're talking to a group of women who are Americans, all of them, or at least speak American English fluently enough to not, be able to tell that she's not an American or anyone there. And yeah, clearly they're talking about American feminism. So why would you even like bring up people and places that have nothing to do with this conversation whatsoever? I think it's disingenuous at the very least.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women. And it's always kind of done that. And also upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
On this point, I 100% agree. That's exactly what happened to the Women's March. It was originally started by a white woman, but she later went on to invite Black women to help in the organize and the planning and everything. Talk about Tamika Mallory and others. Yeah, and that was a revolt. You know what I'm saying? Alyssa Milano and her cohort, they was not having it. They were not having it. But that's the danger of aligning yourself with super leftists who probably don't have your best interests in mind in their actions and behavior. I'm a progressive, but I'm not a liberal. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not at all a liberal. I know and I understand that liberalism is the devil. So, yeah.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh my God, this lady is so annoying. She talks like it's 1837 and she's like trapped in some, I don't know, like antediluvian hell. It's really annoying. Like, lady, what? What? Like, you don't have anything to worry about. Like, nothing. And you're disabled and you still live a great life. Like, shut the fuck up.
See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
Yeah,
I think
use it as
there's a
an
lot
advantage.
of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have.
Oh my God, I love it. You see that face, guys? See that face? That is the face of a woman who realizes she just stepped into it. Because Pearl is not having it. Like, I like Pearl. Pearl cool. I fuck with Pearl. Because she is a very self-aware person. So Pearl understands that she is a upper middle class to wealthy white woman, or not wealthy, but upper middle class to rich white woman in America who has every advantage of being an American in America and in the West can have. Like, she understands that. So her experience is that of a woman with the world at her fingertips. And she expresses it very well. And I don't think women like that very much, because the same hell that these women are raising to force their way into, you know, the upper classes, she's already there, and I don't think they like it.
Quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted.
You think?
And so
they call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because
privileges
we want
exist.
special treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women, and because of sexism.
How is it sexist?
Okay, here we go. It's go time. Here we go with the bullshit. So you have a trans person talking about something that is much more relevant to the trans community rather than the actual female community. What I mean by that is, you know, poor women have always worked in America and everywhere else. This whole idea of a woman being at home and pregnant and like having no life is ridiculous and is only relevant to upper middle class and wealthy white women. Period. Like, poor people have always worked. What? Like, it's only since the 1950s that working in the home became a non-issue. Like, being at home used to actually be work. It was a hard job. Like washing clothes and dishes and cooking and cleaning. Like, we talking about the world before washing machines, before dryers, before central air, before indoor plumbing. Like, it was a lot of work to do to keep a house running and, you know, clean and, you know, a home. That's not the case anymore. Okay. But let's not pretend like the job of a homemaker wasn't a real job. It was. It was one of the hardest jobs to have, to be a homemaker. It's not the case anymore. And now that that's not the case, women say, hey, you know, men have made it so easy to take care of the home that I don't really need to be here all the time. I can go out in the world and do other things, handle other business. That's fine, whatever. But this idea that, like, throughout history, there has been, like, this suppression of female work is utterly ridiculous, and I wish it would stop.
When we have no barriers today, so we can pick
Who has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
It doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman. See, that ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well, as I
you don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about women.
You're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as
an able-bodied white woman.
I
that is
understand.
white.
Represents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled, I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Pay gap has been disproven and debunked
the pay gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
that's so funny.
It's the industries that women pick.
Yeah, I agree with Pearl. I got a feeling I'm gonna be saying that a lot through this video. But yeah, she's absolutely right. As far as American society goes, there isn't anything women are not allowed to do that men do as far as work. Women can run for any public office. Women can have any job in any industry that they can qualify for, period. All of the difference in what men and women are paid boils down to choice. Men choose jobs that are far more physically difficult and pay more money. A lot of times when we talking about blue collar work, the harder the job is, the more it pays. The more technical training a job requires, the more it pays. So, yes, women are very educated, but that education is usually in a university setting, not a technical school, technical training setting. So, yes, men make more in that sense, and men don't have menstrual cycles, right? Men don't usually become the primary caretakers of their children. So we just have more time. We have more time to dedicate to a job, right? If I have 80 hours a week available for working and I choose to work 65 of those hours and you choose to only work 40, and maybe that has a lot to do with, your health and, your situation with your children at home or your family, then you can't turn around and say, I'm at fault because the situations of your life are different. Like, that's not my fault or any man's fault, right? That's nobody's fault. That's just life. Like, everybody's life isn't exactly the same. Everybody's life isn't going to be exactly the same. No matter what we do, there are always going to be different challenges for different people. And this idea that somehow the world is going to become this place where there are no challenges and no difficulties for everyone is ridiculous, right? There are always going to be things about life that make your life easier that might make someone's life harder. I mean, that's just a universal thing. That doesn't even have anything to do with capitalism or race or class or anything. That's just being alive and human and the conditions of all of humanity. Some things are ridiculous, and that argument.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into.
This is hilarious. Guys, listen, I promise you, I am not a conservative. But so far, I just agree with these conservative white women. It's crazy. But to be fair and clear, these women, Pearl and the other lady, the dark-haired lady in the back, they seem like very, moderate, reasonable, rational conservatives. Not, far over the hill, right-wing, racist, wannabe Nazis. Like, they don't sound like, they have some secret plot to take over the world. you know, some pinky in the brain shit out here. That's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing very measured, very reasonable positions from them. And I agree. I agree. Like everything I'm saying, they saying. And I'm agreeing with what they saying. Like it's crazy, but that's just where we are. I feel like the left has gone so far that, you know, that they've become their own version of the far right. And that's weird. And, you know, I think we need to like we need to realign what it means to be on the left. Just like I feel like, you know, the right are going through the same thing. I feel like they just a little further down the line than we are on the left. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the right is like the sensible people on the right is starting to be like, yeah, you know what? I think I don't want to deal with that. I feel like the left is a little bit behind understanding, you know, that it's a difference between, you know, people on the far left who are for the right thing and people on the far left who are for the wrong thing. And, you know. But yeah, man, I agree with him. So I'm going to let him keep it on. I'm going to let him keep going at it.
Why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, actually, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not? What happens when women ask for raises? Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful of, I don't know.
Has nothing to do with sex. Black folks don't get paid as much as white folks. This is a majority white country. Some shit is just what it is. When you working for a job, especially you working for white folks, they gonna pay their people more. Look, I'm from Detroit. All right, I understand. If I'm paying, if I'm the owner of the company and I got my cousin and my brother working for me, yeah, they probably gonna make more than everybody else because it's my fucking company and I get to choose how much I pay people. And if I want to pay my fucking family however much I want to pay them, that's what they gonna get paid. And don't nobody got the right to tell me shit. It is what it is. I think because women haven't been a part of the American workforce in the way and as long as black men have, I just don't think they have really come to understand this dynamic the way black men have. Because I get it. When I'm the boss and I get to choose who get paid what, best believe my friends and family is going to be walking out of there with the biggest paychecks off top. Nothing else to talk about, period. So I ain't even mad. Do y'all thing.
I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in,
but you know,
go through the wall.
It is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her like survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said
and we
as a
don't,
woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
'cause I'm
just feel like
not
your
a woman,
question is
right?
kind of hostile when you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations.
Don't feed the trolls. On to the next. I can see this blind spot. You know, black men really just became fully embraced into the American workforce, you know, with the inception of Barack Obama. So, you know, I can remember back in the days, because I've been working since I was 15. I've been out here working and grinding all my life. I'm 38, I'll soon be 39. So, you know, I have a long work history, and I know for a fact that getting a job as a black man is much easier today than it was, you know, before 2010. Having said that, like, women of color in America is up. Black women is up. It's time to, like, end all that. If somebody don't want you to work at their company, fuck that company. Find another company. There's other companies out here that'll hire you and take you gladly. If it's an industry that you really want to be involved in, but you feel like, you know, the people in that industry in your area don't really want to deal with you, move. Go somewhere else. They just don't like you in that area. Fine. Fuck it. Fuck them. Move. But all this complaining and crying like it ain't no opportunities for motherfuckers. That shit over with. Don't nobody want to hear black men crying about that shit. And guess what? We don't want to hear black women crying about that shit. Because they more on than we is. Like, honestly, they more on than we is. It's a reason why black men choosing not to go to college. Is because black men have a really, really bad experience in corporate America. And most black men don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the politics and the bullshit of corporate America. Fine. We don't do it. We don't cry about it. We just find other ways to make money. I don't hear black men running around crying about not being able to work for Goldman Sachs. Because black men do work for Goldman Sachs. We might not be the president of Goldman Sachs, but fuck it. Like, we don't want them jobs. We understand that, you know, it's certain shit we ourselves don't want to do. So it's no point in even complaining about no black people doing them because we don't even want them jobs in the first place. And I think that's where the place women need to get. And I think it's going to take a little time until they start to realize once they've been, you know, fully part of the American workforce long enough to understand that this job that they don't even want, things they don't even want to do. So it's really no point in crying about it. And if it is a job that you want to do that you can't move, go somewhere else. I guarantee you somebody will hire you somewhere in America to do whatever it is you want to do.
That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing. And I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged.
Like,
I'm not ignoring that.
Or like a basic level of what the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
I agree with the sister. Definitely pro black gun ownership. Definitely pro black gun ownership.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%. So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being women. This doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't believe in.
What does it do for you to have a bunch of ramps in your life? It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is
You
for
guys
women.
can talk.
Women versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Okay, guys, here it is. This is how Pearl keeps winning these debates and conversations. So Pearl's opponents keeps trying to insert race into conversations Pearl wants nothing to do with as far as race. So it is really clear to me that Pearl personally is not a racist. And that she is very intentionally keeping her arguments restricted to gender. She understands that life is not exactly equal for black and white people. And that life is not exactly equal for rich and poor people. She understands those things. So she is not the kind of conservative that tries to lump them into like the same argument. She is very good at not confusing those different things. And by her opponents trying to throw them in, it makes their argument seem even less worthy of the conversation. Right? Like, despite of whether or wrong you agree with her opponent's opinions about the actual issue, when they start talking about things and social anomalies or social conditions that have nothing to do with her topic, it just takes away from your argument. You know what I'm saying? Lefties would have a much, much better time debating her if they would just, keep their own personal bludgeon out of it, because that's what it is. When you bring in race into a conversation like this, like, you just trying to use it as a bludgeon to win an argument that you losing, and it looks bad. You know what I'm saying? If you lose the argument or the point, just take the L. Right? Women don't know how to take the L. You gotta learn how to take the L in the argument, but you gotta win. Ladies, learn to take the L and move on. You know what I'm saying? The way the left think is not always going to be right. The way the right think is not always going to be right. Sometimes the other side may have a fucking point, and you only look ridiculous and argumentative when you refuse to concede a clear line of logic.
So what barrier?
I just want
The question
it's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but
It's not a fair question. It's
How is it
hostile.
not a fair question?
Kind of proving the point of what people, especially black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gone to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal. based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right. It's most of the time it's not inclusive. It's more times than not, it's not. So, and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research.
She's right. But guess what? Black woman, that's not your movement. There isn't a place for you in the main body of the feminist movement because it's not your fucking movement. It's not. That is not your movement. The white woman had a real problem with the way her man treated her, the way her man was oppressing her. But at the time, her man was oppressing everyone who wasn't a well-to-do white male or from a family of well-to-do white people. Now, yeah, life was better for you if you wasn't black, regardless of just about what your economic status was. You just had, perks in society black folks just didn't get. Okay, yeah. But once again, that's a us problem, not a you problem. Black women have tried to, insert themselves into this feminist movement in a way that is really disingenuous. It's disingenuous to black men and towards black men. I don't know a time when black men was oppressing his women. Not in this country. That was never a thing here. That's never been a thing here. Okay? It's never been a thing here. And I can prove it to you. The reason why so many white women are willing to date black men is because they don't behave like white men. That's the point, black woman. Y'all wonder why all of these white women is dating niggas? Well, guess what? It's because niggas don't treat women like white boys. We don't. And y'all sound crazy to white women when y'all talk the way y'all do about men. Cause they be like, yeah, okay, cool, white boys, but like y'all guys is cool. Like what? Like what are you talking about? And if you don't believe me, that's fine. But the data backs what I'm saying. So, figure it out.
And everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society, and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. It is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
No, I'm respecting
right?
wherever your starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's
But
never...
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about?
Achieve
Because I
a
feel like you've
fair
projected
world.
this like
No,
capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve...
Here we go again. Here we go again. Now she's trying to bring capitalism into the fucking argument. Capitalism has nothing to do with this argument. Like, nothing. Why bring up capitalism? Listen, I myself am a socialist. I am a democratic socialist and proud to be one. Okay? But what the fuck does socialism and capitalism and whatever other isms other than sexism have to do with this particular conversation? Absolutely nothing. And it's just extremely frustrating to have to try to argue with someone who just doesn't care about the topic, who just decides at a whim to just throw things into the mix that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's infuriating. I see why conservatives don't like debating people on the left sometimes, because I feel like, you know, far too often when people run out of good arguments about the topic, they just decide, you know what, we'll just argue something else. I won't even concede the fact that I'm losing this argument. I'm not going to concede the fact that my argument has failed the test of scrutiny. I'm going to just throw something completely else, completely different into the conversation. It's just very annoying, but whatever. Let's move.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great, this is about feminism, it's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person, that's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
But taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having
right.
choice is
Right.
an equalizer.
Just like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms
the
of birth
policies
control.
that are hand up, yeah.
This is a different perspective. I don't think these two women are gonna agree on, period. You know what I'm saying? The one young lady who has made it clear that she is not an American, she is not familiar with the way people live day to day here in America. So she doesn't understand how important gun rights are to black people. She has no clue of the history and why that is such a necessary thing for the black community, access to firearms and self-protection. But you know, she probably never heard of Stokely Carmichael, you feel me? Or or any of the more self-protective forms of the movement. And I understand that.
Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, instead of, you know, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to, like, do whatever they want.
Okay, here's where modern feminism loses a lot of men, even on the left. You know, modern men have really embraced personal responsibility. So when we see other men behave poorly, we don't champion it. We don't cheerlead it. If a man is out here behaving in a way that reflects poorly on the rest of us, you know, we call that man out, especially men within our circles. You know, I feel like that scene of, you know, those women just, you know, cheering, like, you know, being disrespectful to themselves, to them, to their families, and to their communities as something to cheer is ugly, and it's a big reason why so many people on the left and right, men and women, are really being turned off by modern feminism. It's like they expect, you know, having rights to mean you no longer have consequences, and that's not how the world works. In fact, the more rights you have, the more responsibility you have to behave well in society.
Women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, instead of, you know, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to, like, do whatever they want.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah. It almost sounds like you said.
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your, like, steez?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why
what
is
I'm
it
saying
empowering?
is, like, I feel like you do, like, take, like, the way
Why
you
is it
speak on
disempowering?
women is very...
Yeah, she had to walk that back quick. I don't know if y'all noticed, but she started championing being a hoe. And then she had to say, wait. Yeah, because even she knows what she was saying or was about to say was ridiculous. It made no sense. It had no value to the conversation. Right? So, yeah, like, that's a bad argument. It's goofy. Nobody with any good sense, no adult with any good sense will be out here trying to make that kind of ridiculous argument that kind of behavior is supposed to be, like, championed. If men should be out here telling men not to behave like that, then why should that be any different for women? Like, y'all keep saying y'all want all of this fair treatment and shit, but y'all don't.
I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we're living through right now. What is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post-Me Too.
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. Because I was like, we're in post-Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting, like, sexually harassed anymore. Like, oof. We did it, guys. We solved the problem. We want that world. No, I think, obviously, the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too, for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post-Me Too, right? We're still working through how do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, you know, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like, right? All those things that I think it's still very complicated. But I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these conversations around consent?
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement, that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain. People do make things up. People do lie. But it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
I feel like there'll never be a post-Me Too because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves and speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be, and you need to hit all of those fronts if you want it.
Yeah, this one here is simple. If she say stop, stop. If you want him to stop, tell him to stop. Period. Everybody follows those simple rules. This won't be an issue.
To last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this. This got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a...
Ha! Pearl just killed the troll. Ha ha! Good job, Pearl. Nothing to say. Nothing to say. Because you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. No. All of that the troll was talking about, mind you, I just want to make this shit clear. Troll refers to her personality, not her physical appearance. But like I was saying, the troll is, clearly trying to push a specific narrative that doesn't really make sense until it's called out. And the moment she called it out, her face was like, because it's the truth. Like when you young and thin and attractive as a woman, like you don't give one flying fuck about the fact that you get more attention and at times better treatment than women who are less attractive or way more than you, period. You know what I'm saying? So if you gobble it up when it's in your favor, shit, you gotta suck it up when it's going the other way. And I just feel like men are usually much better at accepting that realization. Because men tell men. And I think that's why. Because men tell men, look, life as a young man is very different as life as an older man. It just is.
Privilege, and men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not. Why am I going to cry about this? Mm-hmm. I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, We have these conversations, but I think I'm glad to bring it up because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic because colorism is not just shades within being Black. It's shades because again, the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing, and it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about because it deals with being Black.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful. Of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right, had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm gonna redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself, and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I wanna wear and how I wanna wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and I'm gonna feel myself, because if no one else is gonna feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say, though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that, to me, always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that, like, there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, you know, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're typically trends, they're created to push things, they're extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health, they don't serve anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body, and if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women and men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are. That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they are not your friend or looking out for you.
Layla?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry, certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that, like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like, the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think, like, some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, you know, where would I rate myself, 1 to 10? Like,
we're not
you
rating,
know,
it's okay.
That's what I mean. Like, I just think, like, some people
so
are more
if you
attractive.
are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards,
Well,
is that right?
like, the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
But obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up, again, in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity in a lot of, Black communities of the fact that when it was on black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
I think this best displays my argument. So, the young lady says, you know, how she was treated poorly, especially as a youngster, because her complexion and features were different than the people she grew up around. You know, don't get me wrong, this was a thing in the black community for a long time as well, but I don't think it's nearly what it used to be. I think the black community has done a good job of, you know, getting that particular bias under control. And as far as, you know, the dominant culture in this country, of course they prefer to have people who most resemble themselves around. Like, duh. But once again, you know, that's a black people problem. That's not really a black woman problem. It was a problem for that black woman growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood. But black men had absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. Like, nothing whatsoever. We ain't had nothing to do with that. That's a situation you need to talk to your parents about, ma'am. You need to talk to your parents about why they moved you to a community that didn't reflect you, and from what it sounds like, didn't really want you there. And that's not the rest of the Negroes' fault. I'm sorry. Yeah, guys, I feel like this is a good place to end this one. It's by far my longest video, so let me know if you guys liked it. You know, I'm only a couple videos in, so you know, I'm still getting my YouTube legs under me. So, you know, a little patience, and I trust me, I'll get more comfortable and I'll get better at the platform. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, guys, I feel like this is a good place to wrap it up. This is by far my longest video, so let me know how you guys like it. You know, I'm only a couple videos in, so as I go on, I'll get better at the platform. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.